Hi, here I am. As you can see, I found a new software for what's called Bonus Snap, which allows me to also record my face, so you know that I'm a real person and not a bot. Uh, so now, in this tutorial, we're going to discuss for a bit more complex stuff. In this tutorial, I want to discuss about automating the creation of images. For example, you work on a project and you want to load you want to load your project and your code with the latest image of Pharo and the latest VM. How you do that? In order to do that, you have to have some prerequisites. Okay, the first one is that you have to have a configuration. If you work with Git and GitHub, you will have to have set up a Git and Git directory. And if you don't know how to use Pharo with Git, I recommend to go and watch my video tutorial on Git and GitHub and Pharo. But I'm assuming here that you have a configuration. You have your project is either on Small.hub or GitHub, so you have configuration anyway. The first one is a nice idea also to have your code available in catalog browser. In order for your code and your project to be in a catalog browser, you will have to have added the configuration to the meta repo. Now, what is the meta repo? Meta repo is this one here. This is the meta repo. It's a simple Small.hub repository, which all it does is containing all. Containing all the configurations that catalog browser can see here. Now, I'm not going to go in detail how to create configurations, and because configuration is a huge subject, but I can going to give you a very brief idea what configuration really is. Baseline, let's go to configuration of Athens, for example. I have a configuration here. It's a class that contains several methods. Usually the methods are the versions or the baselines. Now the difference between baselines and versions, the baseline is the core of the version, okay, the basic structure of the version, and the version itself is built on top of baselines. Okay, so you have a baseline which is usually is used as the base of your version, and the version itself which loads some packages, or it has dependency, so it can load other projects if you depend on other projects, as happens with Chronos Manager. For example, Chronos Manager depends on Pharo sound in order to to play a sound each time a work period finishes. So you have to add this to the meta repo in order to be available. And if you go and take a look at my configuration of Chronos Manager in the meta repo, you will see that I have also on the class side two methods. One is, I think, it's code description and catalog contact information. These two strings are the return string, which is the information you see when you're trying to open here Chronos Manager, for example. You see there's information here. It's a good idea to provide information. So we have those things here. If you don't understand how configurations work, I heavily advise to go into deep in Pharo and get the PDF, and it has a chapter on Metacello. Metacello basically is what we use to create configurations. Okay. So if you work with GitHub, you will have to have a baseline. Now, what is a baseline? A baseline is usually, baseline of Chronos Manager we have here, is usually a separate package, baseline of Chronos Manager package, baseline of Chronos Manager, which subclass was baseline of, and we have a simple method inside it which says spec package Chronos Manager, which is usually, defines the package we use. And then here I have a very ugly code, and it's ugly because I'm not really using Metacello to load the dependency. Probably it will be better to use Metacello to load the dependency, but I am a beginner with Pharo, as most of you are. So I try to do this in an ugly and lazy way. So I'm using Gopher to fetch from Pharo Extras configuration of Pharo Sound, which is the Pharo Sound project, which allows me to play sounds inside Pharo. So I'm doing here a load configuration of Pharo Sound as a class, props version stable. You see here that we were talking about version. Here we have the stable version, and I load this version. So, the only difference here is that when you have a GitHub, let me see if I can open. Yeah, probably I will have to open here. If I go to Metacello and go to metarepo, yeah, here it is, open it. If you don't have it available, do the old thing. Go here, copy paste here, open, add the repository, add HTTP, and add it via HTTP. And if I go to Kronos Manager, let's load it to the. It's a small class anyway, so let's load it. Let's go to Kronos Manager. Whoa. Configuration of Kronos Manager. So you come here, object subclass. So I think this one is a version 1. I will not going to explain everything how it works. As I said to you, go to Pharo, deep into Pharo to see it and take a look at my class. But usually the ones that are really important are this one and this one back there, contact. You see the contact info we sent here earlier on and the contact description, okay, which is simple strings returned by the class side. So you go here to the instance side, you see blessed and stable, author, lone alias, description and time management tool. Description is not really important. And then this one is important. Baseline Kronos Manager, very important. With spec repository, now this is very important. GitHub, and where in GitHub is located? Kilon Kronos Manager, and which branch it is? It's the master branch. And what I'm importing from this baseline? Kronos Manager. And how I know what exactly is a Kronos Manager? You go here, and it says Kronos Manager is the package you load with this baseline. So, and of course you have to load other packages as well if your project contains multiple packages, and you can also load dependencies here if you want to. So how we automate things? Because I don't want this to make it very long. Go here and go to my Kilon account in GitHub and search for a project, a Git repository that I call Makefiles. And I want to take your attention and put your attention in 2 files here, the Makefile. Now, Makefiles are basically specific kind of files that can use bash line commands. If you don't know how to use the command line, sorry, but you have to watch a tutorial on how to use command lines. It's out of the scope of this tutorial. If you don't know how to use Makefiles, then that's not really a problem. You can take mine and copy-paste it. Here, this is going to execute if I issue make. So if I issue make, it's going to execute this part here, which is make dir iphaistos, and then cd in iphaistos, which is the name of the directory, and then use the wget. Now, if you don't have wget, it's not a problem, because if you are in macOS, you will not have wget. If you are in Linux, probably you will have wget. But if you don't have wget, it's not a problem. You can use curl. Okay, it's the same thing. The only difference is that you will not put this one here. Everything else is exactly the same. Okay, so this one here is going to get the alpha, which is the latest Pharo image, which is Pharo 5, the latest Pharo 5, and VM latest. If you want to have other options, you can go to Pharo.org. Hello, Pharo.org. Yep. You go to Pharo.org, you go to download. You go to command line which says here, here you see curl bash. So you can go here and you will see it has several nice options. So you can choose any of those options here if you want to download Pharo 4 or Pharo 5, or you want to Pharo 5 with the stable VM, or you want to Pharo 5 with the latest VM, or you have Pharo 4, or you may want the old VM, which was not the code, etc., etc. Now, if you are on Windows, sorry, I'm really sorry for you for being on Windows, but you can emulate some of the Unix functionality we see here with 6wing, which I very much recommend for you to install, because it will make it easier for you to follow these kind of tutorials that imply that you not use some kind of Unix like macOS and like Linux. So Cygwin usually emulates this. It gives you a command line, it gives you a bash command line. And yeah, about Makefiles, you can also search in documentation for Makefiles, but as I said, you can copy paste my code here, it's not a big deal. So we get here the image, we get here the VM, and then we open the image using the Pharo UI. And why we use a Pharo UI, you will say, well, you may not know this, but Pharo can also be run without a Django user interface. It can be run as a command line tool, which is actually quite useful, but out of the scope of this tutorial. You can use Pharo from the same command line without having any kind of graphical user interface. Now, the clean here that I define, one thing about Makefiles, always use tabs here. If you don't use tabs, you will have errors and you have unexpected behavior. So remember that after this, I think it's called column, after the column, always use tabs. Now, the clean here, this generally means make clean. So if I do here a make clean, it's going to delete the directory with all the content inside. And that's very nice because if you try to run make 2 times, make is actually quite smart and it knows that if it creates the image, it will not create it again. So you have to actually delete the folder and then issue the make again. And then if there's a make run, it's when you don't want to delete, when you don't want to create an image, you just want to open the image as it is. Now, one of the things you can observe here is that here is a Pharo image and here is an Infestos image. Why? So before talking about this, let's talk about startup files. Now, startup files are really cool. Startup files, startup scripts as they call them scripts, but basically what they are source code files using Smalltalk, using Pharo, and we can create this nice code here, which defines a startup action. Startup action is actually basically means that this code will be executed as soon as the image is opened. So as soon as the image is opened, what it does here is a Smalltalk image current, the current image, short image name, so gives me the short description of the image name, and check if it includes the subscript Infestos. Now you start understanding why there's Pharo in one case and Infestos in another case. What happens here in this Makefile that I usually said is when I download the image, I download it as a Pharo image, pharo.image. Now, I'm doing this because I may want to open the image without loading any packages in it. Okay, for testing some things before I load my packages, usually where there's a crash or where there's an abnormal behavior, or sometimes I just want to open the image without loading any packages in it. So if the image that is open doesn't contain the string Infestos inside the name, nothing of this is going to be executed. That's fine. But if it does contain the image, a name, so if I rename my image or created another image that contains the names Infestos, so I do usually this by using the save as here command, so save as, and I put inside the name Infestos, okay, and then this is going to be executed. Now this is the typical stuff you have to define the startup action name, so copy paste this. Now this one here, the UI manager default inform, is very simple stuff. It's just pop-ups a small message here which says installing income factory, please wait, because I like to make things pretty. And then here is the Metacello new, which is, again, we use Metacello. If you want, because we're talking earlier about configurations, and now we use Metacello new. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go to deep into Pharo and get the PDF and go to the Metacello chapter, and you will see how to use Metacello. Because both the baselines, configurations, and Metacello new are all in the Metacello chapter. So, if you want to use Pharo, go and use this book. Now, some final things I want to say. We explain how the startup action starts, and you see, you can add. The nice thing here is that this one is run once. That's very important to show here. Run once means that it will run on one time. Of course, if you install some packages, you don't want each time you open the image to install again and again. To install again and again these packages. So this one is going to be run once when you open the image, and it will not run again. But if you want to run things again and again, then you should use this one that I've commented out, which is a start action that runs each time you open the image. So you may want, to do some kind of cleanup each time you open the image, or you can do all sorts of stuff. Now, what else? The other thing it may worry you is you may ask yourself, how am I able to find in which folder I should put. In Makefiles, you should put it in any folder you want. I usually put it on my home folder. So because when I open the terminal, it's the first thing the first directory I'm into. So all I have to do is type make, and it's going to make it's going to execute the things that we said in the Makefile. But for the startup startup Pharo ST, you have to put in a specific folder, and issuing this command and choosing inspector, it will show you in which folder it expects to find a startup script. And this is actually the folder you can put it in. I think you can also put it in the folder that the image is, if I'm not mistaken, and it will still run. But because I want to do this with several kinds of images and several kinds of folders, I prefer to put the preference folder. I think that's it. I have nothing more to add to this. Yeah, I think we explained the basic workflow. Yeah, again, if you don't understand how Metacella works, go and read the chapter. If you don't understand how GitHub works, of course, I forget something. This one is very important. This blog post here is very, very important. You will find it if you put startup scripts Pharo in the Google. It should be one of the things that first you should find. It has been made by this guy here, Mariano Martinez Beck. It's an old blog post, but it's still very, very relevant. I use this blog post as a template for my scripts, and it explains to you how startup scripts really work, and a step-by-step process, and I also explains you some really, really cool stuff you can use with startup scripts. So that's all from me. Again, of course, if you want to find the more options about widget, as we say here, you go to the get Pharo org, you go to Pharo.org, and then you go to the launch section. I think here, download, and you go here to the zero config website, and it will show you this. Make, you can find here information, but there's a lot of stories about Make, deep into Pharo, status script, meta repo. I will explain all this, and yeah, and good luck automating your builds with Pharo. As always, have fun using Pharo. Bye bye.